Something that I think about a lot when it comes to video games is which console is actually the most fun to play them on. Because it used to be there was no major difference in the fun factor between all the consoles, but now there really is. And you won't even realize it until you've actually experienced it yourself. And mainly what I'm talking about here is on the PS5, the PS5 controller, aka the DualSense controller. It just makes playing games so much more fun than it would be on, say, the Xbox or a PC with a keyboard or a Switch. PS5 just has a better experience. And it's not that the games run better, look better, they feel better thanks to the DualSense. But that is not always true. There are times where a game comes out on PS5, I'm real excited, can't wait to see what they did with this very unique controller's haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. And then you go and find out they did absolutely nothing. So the game just feels exactly like it does on every other console, and it's the biggest missed opportunity on the developer side. I think that every single game, especially first party games, but even other games, every game on PS5 should have some implementation of the DualSense. The more unique, the better. The best example of how the DualSense has been used so far is with the pre-installed PS5 game that comes with the console for free, Astro's Playroom. That game is not that long, but it is fucking amazing. I must play, and every PS5 owner has it, so there's no excuse to not play it. It just shows off the controller magnificently. There's so many different ways in that game that they got creative and showed what this controller is capable of. And you would think doing something like that would show all the other developers that they too could do something like that. But not every game goes to those lengths. In fact, no other game has done better than Astro's Playroom, like I said. But there are games that do a great job, and the first and most popular example I can give is Call of Duty. It started with Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, then Call of Duty Vanguard, then Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the newest one that's out right now. They do a really good job with the controller in that game. The adaptive triggers feel so good when you're shooting a gun. It feels like you're pulling like a resisted trigger, and it like kicks back at you. It's just, the feedback is so realistic, and it's amazing. And then when you slide, there's like a very unique haptic that you feel. There's just all sorts of things that make it better than it would be with just a regular old controller on an Xbox or something. And another really good game, another shooter, is Battlefield 2042. Now, I'm not saying that game is the greatest game ever. It's a lot better than it was at launch right now. But the DualSense feedback on that game is so good. Again, the adaptive triggers, they're similar to Call of Duty. It feels like you're pulling a real trigger on a gun, and all the weapons feel different. It's not all like they're all the exact same. If you have a heavier light machine gun, it's going to feel totally different than a pistol or SMG. But it also, in that game, when you're running, you can feel your footsteps in the controller faintly, to where it's like, I mean, it's so cool. There's no other games doing that, or no other consoles doing that. And then my most memorable experience with a game where I'm like, okay, this is miles better than it is on any other console. Call of Duty's Call of Duty, Battlefield's Battlefield, but like this game, Control Ultimate Edition, I still have not forgotten how cool it was to play on PS5, because I never played the older versions, and it's like one of the best uses of the DualSense that I've experienced so far. You can feel raindrops falling in your hands. All the guns feel crazy in that game. It's just such a good time. And I know there's no way in hell that it's anywhere near that good on other consoles. I know it's a great game no matter what, but it's just miles better on PS5 because of the DualSense. And one last game I wanted to bring up that I just thought did an amazing job. Actually, two games. We'll do two racing games. Because when you're driving in real life, it's hard to recreate that feeling in a video game. Sure, you can get in that first-person cockpit view. You could do this, you could do that, you can get a racing wheel. But when you race with a DualSense in something like Gran Turismo 7 or Dirt 5, you're in for a treat. Especially in Dirt 5, you can feel the difference between gravel, snow, cement, dirt. It all feels different in your hands. It feels like your steering wheel is actually going through that texture. And Gran Turismo, it's insane. Like when you shift gears, you can feel like the exhaust kick in your controller. When you hit the brakes, you can feel your brakes lock up. Going around turns, you can feel everything on the road. It is insane. And then on top of all of this, some games, for instance, like Gran Turismo 7, have PSVR 2 support. And you might think, oh, that's cool, you can play the game in VR. Not only is it a great VR experience, but the VR controllers on the PSVR 2 have DualSense support. Like DualSense features. They are DualSense split in half. So they still have adaptive triggers, and they still have the haptic feedback, plus you're in VR. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And the headset has vibrations. I mean, I can't think of a better VR experience when it comes to just being immersed. Now, sure, there's cords, there's some flaws to it. It's PS5 only. There's not as many games. There's tons of things negative you could say about PSVR 2. It's expensive, but the controller, oh man, I know it's got to be amazing because the DualSense is amazing. And that's the point of this video. I think that if there's a developer who spends years developing a game and they finally come out with it and it doesn't have anything unique on the PS5, they're not trying their hardest, straight up. Like they're either unaware, which if they're unaware, they shouldn't be making games. They need to be more in tune with the market, or they don't care, or somebody is paying them to not make the PS5 better. I'm calling out Microsoft on this one. I feel like there's certain games that Microsoft doesn't want all the players to go to PlayStation, and they're like, all right, developers, if you don't go all out on the PS5 version, just make it like ours, we'll stand a chance. We'll pay you for that. And Microsoft has so much money that I could see them doing something like that. Not saying that's definitely what's happening, but that's just one thing that I can think of, because I don't know why else you would make a huge game and then not implement the DualSense. There's even games that come out or have come out on PS4, no DualSense obviously because it's a PS4, and then they have a free PS5 upgrade to that. It's the same game, say like Ghost of Tsushima, you got a free upgrade, or actually you had to pay for that upgrade, damn, and I paid for it. It was only like $10, but you can upgrade to the PS5 version, and then all of a sudden the game feels so much different just because of the controller, because they have adaptive triggers on the bow and arrow. There's all sorts of haptic feedback. It made an already amazing game better. So I can confirm from playing PS4 games without DualSense support to playing the PS5 versions of them that they're better. Cyberpunk 2077 is another game. There's so many upgrade games like that just are obviously better on PS5. And frankly, Xbox Series, PC, they're all still on the same level as the PS4 in terms of their controller. There is nothing unique about their controllers. I mean, the Switch has some good haptics, and I thought those were amazing at first, but now that I've used the DualSense has better haptics and those adaptive triggers. And now that they're coming out with PlayStation's Project Q, which is like a mobile controller with a screen in the middle of it. I made a video about that the other day. You might have seen it. That's going to have DualSense support. So now you're going to be able to use these DualSense features on the go. I mean, PlayStation's doing a great job with being creative and making things more fun, like giving you a reason to actually want to buy their console rather than going elsewhere or building a PC or whatever. Like people who have a PS4, they may not even realize that all they need is to upgrade to a PS5 and their experience is going to be insane. Forget all the quick load times, the better graphics, and more games. The controller alone is like a good reason to switch. I don't know. I've talked about this before, but not this much in depth. I feel strongly about the DualSense, and I can't wait to see when new games come out what they're going to do with it. And sometimes I've been disappointed because I've got my hopes up too high. It's not that they did a bad job. I just thought they were going to do something that I couldn't think of. Like God of War, Horizon Forbidden West, those both did a really good job with the DualSense, first-party games for the PS5, but they didn't do anything that really wowed me to where like, oh my god, how do they think of how to do this? And I know there's going to be games that do that, and there's probably games that have done it that I haven't even played it yet, because there's so many games out. But yeah, okay, I've rambled enough about this. If you have a PS5, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you have never played a PS5, please take the time to do it. A perfect game to try would be Call of Duty. If you have a friend that has it, try it out. Use their DualSense. Feel what it feels like to shoot, and you'll understand what I mean. But anyone that has a PS5, again, try Astro's Playroom if you haven't, because it is by far the best showcase of the DualSense. And that's what that game was created for, was to introduce you to the controller and what it is capable of. And I think they did a great job with it. But that's all I got today's video. Thanks for watching. Catch you in another one soon, people. Peace.